equipment reserve. No, for next year. And the general fund equipment reserve is the reason the balance goes down is because we included all the purchases of the police vehicles as outright purchases, but we may instead recommend going with the state lease program. Because the reason I think that would be smart is we want to build up that reserve. So it would make it, instead of taking out $150,000 there, we'll probably just take out $20,000 to $30,000 in the general fund, made up of interest and principal for about a 4-year period. We have one lease there now, but that should be paid off, I believe, next year. So I'll be talking with the finance committee and the council about that in the coming months of 2015. This is how we go. Actually, we'll probably talk about that tomorrow night. The Roads Capital Improvement Fund is just a few projects that need to be completed in their matching grant amount, and that's why it's going down to $58,000. We can look at that as far as we've been transferring some money into that fund, and we kind of reduce some of those transfers from the utility capital funds because they have their own projects this next year as well. The Stewart project has matching grant amounts, plus we received $300,000 in the Public Works Trust Fund loan in 2014, which will be fully expended next year. Some of it was spent this year, but not very much. So that's why that goes down from $475,000 to $32,000. And then the final one is the Sewer Cumulative Fund. It goes down a little over $200,000, about $250,000 actually, $245,000, and that's related to Valentine, some work they're doing on the sewer because the Valentine project will be worked on. And that does not have a lot of transfers going into it, but I'm going to look at just starting to transfer some from the sewer fund, which continues to go up. Okay. The next one, keep thinking this is the screen. Okay, this is the citywide revenue breakdown. You can't really see the general there, but it's 44%, 3 to 4%. This is just a breakdown of the revenues those individual funds receive. Stormwater 16, sewer 24, and water 12%. And then we have citywide expenditures. The general fund is 45%. 3 to 4%. Urban sewer is 0. Water is 12%, and sewer is 23%. And stormwater is 16%. The general fund revenue sources. I increased the property tax to $905,000. I don't know how much confidence I have in that number because this year we're supposed to receive $884, and right now we're at $862, and we usually don't receive a lot in December, so that'll be interesting. And I'm going to talk to the county department to see why is that just people aren't paying on time and how that works. So we are over budget anyway for this year, or right at budget. And then the sales tax, I budgeted for the same as this year. It looks like we're going to be over budget this year there, which is good. Criminal justice, tax, that's about the same as this year. Utility tax, franchise fees. Now the franchise fees may go down. We'll talk a little bit about that later. State shared revenues, liquor board profits, those are things we don't control, and we just go based on averages. And all the rest are, and then investment interest is up quite a bit. We don't even have that much this year or last year put together. We will, at the end of this year, we'll have $9,000 to $10,000 that we're receiving at the end of December. Okay, and then we have general fund revenues. Beginning balance. I decided to start including the beginning balance because it really is what we appropriate for every year to start the fund with. Those numbers are based on the estimates for the end of this year, which we have good ideas of what they are since we're into November. They could go up or down. Usually they go up. I try to be conservative with those numbers. Taxes, as you can see, is 52, almost 53% of our revenue in the general fund. And then the rest are really small compared to that in the beginning balance. And we went over this before. Where does your property tax dollars go to? And the biggest part being state, county, what's it, transportation, or port, and then also Auburn School District, that's the larger, 44%. City of Pacific gets about 12. General fund expenditures, police is the largest, law enforcement is 54%. We have been able to manage that a little bit down as we've included all the appropriate revenues and expenditures. And then we have all the rest. It's made up of varying services, central services, administrative services, support, and a whole bunch of others, community service, building, community development, executive, interest transfers. Okay. And there's a list of all the expenditures that makes it up. Total is 4.88 or 4.08 or 9 million. And then we have street fund. At the beginning balance is 81,000, and then 15% is made up of taxes, fuel tax. Intergovernmental revenues are actually I've moved the real estate excise tax to that fund, both streams, and that's what makes up those intergovernmental revenues, plus some other. The part of the revenue of the real estate excise tax is about 70,000. So, and we have three fund sources. So it's motor vehicle excise tax, which I told you is fuel tax or gas tax, the REIT taxes, interfund transfers. We have 165,000. Some other funds, including general fund. And then the TBD, the Transportation Benefit District, that hasn't really been moved on by council yet. They're still at the committee level, which I assume will probably be brought back to council sometime early next year. We're looking at that more for 16, but maybe if the council moves on, we might get a little bit in 15. It takes about 6-7 months to start seeing revenues once that is enacted. And I've been working with our attorney to see what that takes to enact it, and then I'll come back to council with that. And there's the street maintenance expenditures, most of it does go to maintenance. The streets also provide some interfund transfers for replacement equipment. Capital project funds. So we have small grants for the Milwaukee Road and urban improvements. That's in the 301 fund. And then we have parks as very small improvements. And the revenues there are made up of park impact fees along with the county sales tax. Valentine Road project, that we budgeted quite a bit this year. We didn't actually see any activity because Sumner provided and managed the project. That may be the case for this year. The good news on that side is that we don't have to get audited on any of that, because if we had all those grants, we'd probably have a single audit, because some of them are federal, and they exceed $500,000, so you have to have a separate audit for that. So, been working with Jim Morgan about how that's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to go in 2015, so we just set it up like we did this year, as what our portion of it is, and then we'll see where they go with that. We're constantly meeting with them, talking about the part of the project that is ours, and if they want us to be involved, or if they want to just handle it like they have been. It works for me as they do it. They just let's work on staff time, and the work still gets done. The water sewer capital improvement, 406 and 408, we have some water line replacement, quite a bit actually. It's about $2 million. We have a Culver trust fund of $1.8 million that pays for that. We will have to pay it back over time, 15 years I believe. And it was a really low interest rate. I think it's around 1%. So that'll be a expense that the water fund pays back from its revenue stream. Same with the sewer capital improvement. Both these projects are working concurrent with Valentine and Stewart. It just makes sense when the ground's going to be dug up to get down there and get some of the work done that needs to be. Timing works well for that, plus the grants and Culver trust fund. West Valley Highway, we've made a separate fund for that, as that's going to entail more work. It's $180,000 DOT, grant for engineering costs in 2015, both for both counties. Stewart Road project is hopefully going to be completed by the end of 2015. There's a CIB grant of $1.78 million. And then the fire capital improvements, at the committee level, we talked about considering repairs for city hydrants, as we have about $60,000 to $70,000 sitting in that fund. We're going to work with the RFA to see if that will work too. All right, so now we'll move on to the municipal capital improvement project. Really no activity. We're just, the Public Works Manager is working with staff to come up with numbers, which we don't really anticipate having until early 2015. We'll come back to council and talk about it. What we will be doing in 2014 is closing out the funds 206, 207, and 208, and moving those monies to the general fund, and then transferring $400,000 back to the municipal capital improvement fund, which will leave it a balance somewhere around $785,000, and that's why we can move the revenue streams for real estate excise tax over the street. So that's that. Roads capital improvement, I talked about that. There's a breakdown of the expenditures in the beginning balance. Park capital revenues, I've been told by the county that we should get $10,500 in taxes, and then we have the rest. I'm looking at that to verify the amount. Charges for goods and services is also made up of impact fees, $8,500. So we'll see how, so this year we have not received what they said we would, so I'm working to find out why not. So much lower than I thought it would be. Valentine Road project is, there's the grant for that, intergovernmental revenue, which is a loan, or actually non-revenue, isn't on the grant for intergovernmental revenue. We do have matching sites to these two, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's why there are some large expenditures to the city because of the matching, say, 10 or 20% on a grant that's $2 to $3 million, adds up pretty quickly. West Valley Highway, there's the parts to King and Pierce County, revenues from DOT, and then the expenditures, to break down where that's going.
Where's if you go back to the West Valley Highway?
Sure.
The paving transfer, where's that transfer coming from? Is that general fund?
Let me see. Is there revenue?
The slide right before that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's not coming from the general fund, no. I'd have to, actually, let me look at that real quick to see. That's why I have it open right here. Should take me a second. Okay, here it is. 406. So it's the water capital fund.
Oh,
Transferring
okay.
that in. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so now we're at Stewart, and there's the grant, actually the Culvert Trust Fund of 1.78. And let's see, we're bringing in, beginning balance is about 2.2 million, and we'll be spending most of that. Actually more than that, to bring it down to the ending balance is about 32,000, hopefully that'll be all paid off. Water operations revenue, the beginning balance brings it up to about 1.7 million, and I can show you the breakdown further. It's in your budget if you want to look there, but that's made up of mostly charges for water. And then water operations expenditures, water utilities, debt service, principal, repay. We're getting close to that being paid off, so that'll be nice to have that out. And then interfund transfers. The water fund sends transfers to the water capital and to the street, and also repay the general fund administrative processes. The general fund areas like legal.
This doesn't take into account replacing water meters this year?
Yeah, well, that's going to be in the 406 fund. So there was a transfer that helped out with that a bit, yes, or it doesn't directly. Water meter replacement, that's going to be...
How far away are we on that tank replacement? pay off?
We're, I believe, within a year. I'll look at it again, but I haven't, but it's getting really close to being a year or two. Because I know the interest has dropped tremendously, so we're right down near the end.
Okay, I'd like to know what that,
I'm thinking 15 or 16, one of the two. I'll look at it and get back to you on that. So water meter replacement, the expense estimate is close to 1.2 million, and we looked at what the cost would be to do a water revenue bond versus having the vendor finance it for us. And one is 15 years, which is a vendor finance. The other is 20 years. The interest is really close on both sides. That's going to really be, it's going to discuss, it's going to be about discussions of which is more frugal for the city to go. 15 years with a higher payment, should have lower interest, but they're really comparable. So we'll have to decide what's best for the city as far as what would it do to rates, if it impacts rates at all.
our, decision on that be based on how much we got left to pay off in that tank?
It could be. We have some, fund balance that we could use, but we have to be careful about that, because we're using it on projects related right now to the water line replacement. But definitely, we're gonna have a discussion about that before we move forward. It's just a placeholder in the budget right now. Sewer operations, revenues, and there will be a slight sewer rate increase coming to council regarding the King County Metro increase pass-through. And sewer operations expenditures. The sewers, it increased its transfers to the capital side, as well as equipment replacement, now that it's in better shape than it was before. And there's a rate increase I was talking about that King County is sending through to us. So that was 5.63%. So I'll let you know, we should have, Jim's working on the rate increase, but that won't come to council probably until January, I think. I wanted to come by the 15th and 22nd, so we could have it in place, but I think we'll be okay if we get it in place in January. I know we will. Okay, water capital improvement revenues. A lot of non-revenue areas that receive, so the projects for water capital improvement are twofold. One is for the meter replacements, and the other one is for the line replacements. Both of them are expensive. One's like I said, about 1.2 million. The other one is 1.7. And those finances are public works trust fund ones, and then revenue bonds. There's the expenditures, about 3 million, a little over 3 million. And then we have stormwater operations revenue. And most of that's made up by charges to service and revenue received. And then we have stormwater operations, and this fund will be not overspent. So we worked hard to do that because it was overspent at first, so it's such an expensive. Capital equipment purchases, these are the same as they were last time we talked. For the police, it's replaced 4 tasers and then 3 patrol vehicles. 2 replacements and 1 for the new officer. And then public works equipment, this is fleet equipment, replaced 2 vehicles, 2 pickup trucks. It's about $100,000 for the 2 of them, and then fuel trailer replacement, underground utility line locator, and upgrade. The 499 fund will increase in 2015, even with those purchases. So it's in better shape, but it's due to the transfers from the utility fund. 2015 staffing, we discussed this too, and it's going up due to, oh yeah, I'll fix that slide. So the minus 4% is from 13, actually it goes up. Yeah. 14 went down, that's right. So then it goes up by 10% from 14, but about 6% from 13. And that's basically due to staffing increases and filling jobs, and as well as increases in benefits. 7% from the union side and 5% from AWC. here's, oh, but this is the, 2015 salary and authorized FTE schedule. I went over this the other day to make sure that all the numbers fit in there, and they do, everything is good.
I just have a question.
Sure.
So this doesn't count the traffic costs, does it?
Actually, I believe,
This is 6. and that's what
right,
we're
so
currently
there's
at, right?
6, and we have detective is 7, the sergeant is 8, LC is 9, yeah, so it doesn't include, they'll fall right in that range, he or she, whatever it will be. Yeah.
So that's my question is if we're gonna pass it, do we wanna make that 7?
Yeah, I'll
So
let
that
you
we
do
have
that.
the increased staffing
Sure.
authorized?
Good point, yeah.
That's still not filling the vacant sergeant position.
Correct. And here's the pie chart for salary, wages, and employee benefits. And this is made up of the whole city, not just general fund.
So will these percentages change when you add that other FTE?
You know, I think it's in there, because I put them in the budget, I just didn't put them in the schedule. Yeah, yeah, so it's in there. So do we have any questions? I know we're gonna have some comments from the audience, but is there anything, council? I accidentally sent you guys the line item budget, so you probably were surprised by the size of the, budget. Yeah, when I looked at it and I saw 173 pages, I'm like, okay, this is a lot bigger than last time, what did we add? And then I realized it was a line item instead of the department. And I thought, well, that's actually good for them to see that one time, just to see if there's anything they wanna look at. But ordinarily you'll get, it's not a lot smaller, it's about 50 pages small, which is good, I mean, but it's a 32-page by department. And then you'll have the schedule like this, if I found there was one error and I corrected it. And this meeting is for if there's any changes we want to make before the final budget next week, or if there's any issues we want to address.
And just to clarify, even though you've given it to us both line item and department level, we are still proposing to adopt at the fund level?
Yes. And when you do that, you'll still have the department level as a...
As backup information,
Yeah.
the binding budget is the fund level, so
Right.
if there are minor adjustments, the mayor can make them without coming back to us every time she needs to move money from the
Exactly.
to
As long as it's intra fund,
Yeah.
we cannot do it inter-fund
Right.
unless you approve it. And that'll be coming to you on the 15th, the 2014 budget amendment.
But if she needs to move postage to fund bills, it's okay.
Exactly, right.
The only thing I have a few clerical mistakes that I noticed in the one that you emailed us.
Right, the
And I
budget.
think I can go over that.
Tomorrow night. That's fine. There are also some findings that are in there that I'm gonna take out. That should be taken out, but I can't get by to do that, so I'm working with them on it. They told me to put it into a PDF. Take that PDF and put it into Excel, take them out and then redo it. And actually, it's gonna work very well, because the PDF, even the newest one, we do have, kind of makes it a mess. So,